Brian, you work.
There's technically four.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm Bridget.
Hi, Mark.
Do you live out here now?
I actually remember Southern.
All right, call to order.
So
The regular meeting of the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation, Tuesday, October 10th, is 6:30. Roll call. Tim McConnell here. Chris Hammond.
here.
Jessica Addison.
Here.
Keith Amica.
Here.
Mark Peck.
Here.
Manu Criddle absent. Roger Watkins absent. And Keisha Turkey absent. All right, approval of the agenda. Do I have any motions to amend the agenda?
So moved. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second to approve the agenda, please.
Second.
Second by, okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes from the September 12th, 2023 meeting. If I review the minutes, email, motion to approve it.
So moved.
Moved by Chris Hammond. Jessica Addison, second. To approve the minutes.
No, I didn't read them.
Okay, that's fine, no worries. I shouldn't have called you out, I apologize. I just, since it was a tie last time, I was giving you the tiebreaker. Second to approve the minutes.
Keith, are you here?
I'm here. I'm here, but there's far more qualified people down there than I am.
It's only me.
I read the minutes. I'll second.
Just a feckless yes man here.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
We ask that everyone please read the minutes before.
Love that dog.
Again. All right. Oh, God, yes, I understand.
I typically understand.
Yes, all right. Okay, we have an action item to approve a resolution to, a motion, I need a motion from the Finance Committee, motion by committee to approve the budget for the 2024 calendar year. I'll read resolution. Whereas the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation is a public benefit corporation of the City of New Orleans, which leases from the City of New Orleans its property right at West End, whereas in the fall of each year, Municipal Yacht Harbor must submit to the Chief Administrative Officer of the City a budget for the ensuing calendar year, which said budget is drawn together and with other budgets of the City and submitted to the City Council for consideration. Whereas the Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation 2024 budget document have been reviewed by the board, and now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Municipal Yacht Harbor approves the 2024.
Says 2023, vice 24.
Yes, correction in 2024 budget. And the date needs to be changed to October 10th, 2024. On the bottom of the resolution.
So today's the 23rd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
On behalf of the Finance Committee, we recommend that the budget be approved.
Open for discussion.
Wait, did you need a motion?
A motion from the committee. It's motion by committee. Since the committee voted for it, automatically it's a motion. Anybody have any comments on the budget?
I noticed that group hospitalization insurance and workers' comp have gone down appreciably. Is there any reason for that?
Those are tied to the salaries, which are because we reduced personnel from the 2023 budget to the 2024 budget. They go down with that.
We have fewer people?
The 2023 budget was budgeted for more employees.
Right,
We're
okay.
currently budgeting for fewer employees.
It's for the staff that we were never able to hire.
I had the same question. Brian, would you elaborate for everybody, please, why it is?
We had originally budgeted for more than one maintenance worker and 3 ground patrol officers. We are now budgeted for 1 maintenance worker and 2 ground patrol officers. We're going to continue to try to hire 3, but based on our previous experience hiring ground patrol officers, we feel that the numbers in there, we're likely to have a total of an average of 2 for the year.
And so we've included more money for hiring the
Levy board
police in lieu of hiring, since we haven't been so struggling to do that.
Correct.
On item 8300, professional fees, tree services, there's nothing listed for 23 and nothing for 24. I know we expended considerable amount of money to trim trees. Would we not expect to have the tree trimming sometime in 2024?
So the previous trimming, standard trimming was the end of '22. Any trimming that we call for now would only be, during this time, would only be for safety after a storm. That would come out of the hurricane budget.
So there would be no requirement basically to do routine annual things like,
Based on the recommendation of the arborist that we used, he said 3 to 5 years typically between trimmings.
I noticed on 8175, insurance has gone up significantly. Would that be just general liability risk of just general policy increase because of where we are and what we're doing?
Yeah.
So Wayne had let us know it went up about 20% this year, so he's estimating that it's going to be the same next year.
Okay.
Any other board members have any questions, comments? No comments from public comments?
Are you done?
Charles?
I'm good. Thank you.
That's it.
All right, no more comments? Motion is on the floor to approve the budget. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Budget is, the resolution, the budget is approved. All right. The next item is our financial report. Does someone have that?
I have it.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind. Mr. Watkins was supposed to be here. He did contact me and say he was hung up at the airport, so he didn't anticipate that he'd get in time to get here. So if we don't give it, we're fine. I appreciate it. You give the financial report.
As of September 30th, MYHMC has a total assets of $17,372,600, current assets of $3,548,900, and the bulk of which is in the form of cash of $3,317,300, and 2 accounts at JP Morgan Chase Bank. Net fixed assets total $1,357,800. Other assets include lease receivables of $12,295,200, and deferred outflow of pension resources of $166,100. On the liability side, MYHMC has total liabilities of $15,021,900, of which $257,100 are current liabilities, consisting mainly of accounts payable and accrued expenses of $93,200, and accrued annual leave and sick leave of $138,900. Long-term liabilities consisted of net pension liability of $496,100 and $12,268,700 for deferred inflow of long-term leases. That leaves Municipal Yacht Harbor Management Corporation with a total equity of $4,350,700, of which $3,850,700 is unrestricted net assets. For the month of September, MYHMC had revenues of $178,100 and operating expenses of $133,400, which resulted in a net income of $44,700. Year-to-date revenues are $1,660,400, with total expenses of $1,310,900, resulting in a year-to-date profit of $349,900. The harbor's occupancy is at 94%.
Thank you. Board members, any comments on the financial report? Questions? Public comment?
Charles?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Director's report. Mike?
Phase 3 of the cameras, which are at the point, are now installed and functioning. Staff hiring, as we previously discussed, we're down to 1 grounds patrol officer at the moment. We're trying to hire more. No change in the Bishop Pier update. The sale of boathouses or lease of the 2 boathouses currently in our control. Our outside counsel is currently working on a new lease and drafting the ordinance to present to the city council so that we can auction those. West End Park and Breakwater Park, just want to recognize the volunteer cleanup crew that came out, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. They did a really good job. They filled up a very large roll-off dumpster with debris, which we provided, and Sean, our maintenance worker, we had asked him to work that day to facilitate and help. So I think they did a great job, and we're very appreciative of them. And thank you, Lee Henderson, specifically for current projects underway. The pond, we're working on that, the aeration. The water fountain that's been knocked over for 18 years was replaced. And at this point, I getting quotes from plumbers to fix the water fountain and water spigot in the park. Coming soon. The FEMA claim for Hurricane Zeta is complete except for the interior lights. The tops are being replaced around the fountain. Once these are installed, then we're going to contract an electrical contractor to repair the electricity in the large shelter and for those lighting.
Brian, on item 5, when you talk about water fountain, you're talking about a drinking fountain. You're not talking about the giant inoperable fountain.
Correct.
Do we have any update on the giant inoperable fountain?
I mean, there's been no direction from the board to that in any way.
Oh, I thought we had
We came back with a quote that was in the millions.
for the fountain.
Yeah, let's clarify, you're right, Jessica. It's fine, when we discussed it last time at a meeting, it was that the price 6 or 7 years ago, I think it was come up.
There's various iterations of the price, but the lowest one was like 600,000 or 700,000 up to almost 2 million to what we have.
And there was discussion about somebody brought up about the family who originally built it.
Yeah, we haven't heard any.
I think you did say, was there gonna be something like aeration or something?
That's the
That's the
pond.
pond.
Okay.
Wi-Fi poles for the marina. I met with the engineer and shot down his engineering idea because it was complicated and expensive.
Hey, now.
So
Said
they're,
engineer.
so they're reworking their ideas and are going to come back. Something else.
Elon Musk's company just,
so
goes
the-
around here,
we have-
Starlight or something, Starlight?
We've been looking into grants, most recently a marine debris removal grant, which was sent to us by somebody in the city, but their minimum grant layout was $800,000, and we have about $10,000 worth of work. And even combining with the Lakefront Management Authority, we wouldn't come near what they want, so that one's not really feasible for us. We're going to continue to look at other grant opportunities, and Mr. Marcellus sent us some grant recommendations, and we'll look into them, but continually looking into things that we see. West End development expenses, the most recent development expense is an invoice from Stone Pigman with $90 towards development.
Board members, any questions on the director's report? Discussion.
Could we get some sort of update? There was conversations about the family who paid for that fountain might be interested in providing funding. There was a lot of background radiation from that. Did we update the proposal to repair the fountain, assuming that this mythical family doesn't really exist?
Did
Pay for it?
whoever brought it up at the meeting was supposed to send something? Don't receive anything?
Right.
I believe that was at the meeting, and I think it would be a good approach. But whoever brought it up was supposed to send Brian something so he could, some kind of contact information. They're the ones that had the information on whoever built it. And y'all can find something. It'd be great to see what they had some knowledge of. I apologize, I don't remember who actually
I don't
said
either.
that at the meeting. All right. Any other board members, comments, or questions?
Charles?
Yes, Lee is applying for a grant for planting trees around the lagoon, and he's done a great job with the trees. He's named one of them Darwin, because I feel like it survived with a lot of challenges. So I think he's got about 20 cypress trees that he planted that we trimmed, so it's a great job that Lee Henderson's doing. And tomorrow is a ceremony. Billy Nungus is giving a check to Jefferson Parish, a grant check on the other side in Bucktown Harbor. That's it.
Where were they planting the trees at?
Lee planted in March. They got red tape on them. And the last month, he's been out there some on his own, and then he had us there past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, cutting the trash trees around them so that they could grow better. So they're cypress, ball cypress trees. And you can see them, he's done a good job to protect them so that they could survive. They're probably like 2 or 3 years ago that he did those. And he goes back like on Arbor Day and the times where he goes and makes sure he starts to trim on his own.
And he got a grant to do that?
He's applied for a grant. American Trail had a tree planting grant last month. And I think that's the one that he applied for. They were like, said any community almost could apply for a $5,000 tree planting grant. And I think that's what he applied for. And he didn't know if he got it yet.
And you said these trees that you talked about were planted about 3 years ago?
Yeah, that on his own money, on his own nickel. But he's got one, and he was in there by the bridge, really clear cutting a lot around it and he called it Darwin. When he got to it, he was surprised at how big it was. It was doing very well. So he's trying
You
to
said
get rid
on the bayou, I'm trying to, where did you talk?
the bridge to the lagoon. By JB's, there's a
Okay.
pond. I call it the pond.
Okay.
There's right there where that bridge is. He was really a couple of weeks ago in there hacking away and cleared out the debris, and then suddenly got to the tree, and it's probably 6 feet tall. It's doing well.
Might kill it with clean water if we aerate it.
I'm sure we'll
It's
see.
used to scum by now.
Any other comments? All right, no other comments, we'll move to the Rules and Standards Committee. We did not have a meeting this month. Unfinished business, there's no unfinished business. Economic Development Committee, the meeting, we've been given a date, so on October 26th will be the date of the community meeting. Get feedback with HRNA on developing the RFQ. I told them I want to have, definitive time and everything with 2 weeks out. So we're only about 2 days to send something out to everybody, get the information out, pay attention to our website, about getting the information out to the first community meeting.
Is that time frame like 2 weeks in advance? Is that pretty standard?
No, but I just think it's appropriate to get as many people in contact about it as possible.
Yeah, I guess I just mean to me that feels kind of soon for not knowing that they were ready to be at that stage.
We've been talking about it every meeting, that we've been trying to get them to do something and have them come make a presentation and get feedback. And then to keep moving forward, we need to have that public meeting. We've been talking about it at every meeting. I get asked why don't we have an economic development committee, and I said, we're getting ready to. We're waiting for them to be ready and to have something to present. There's no point in having a meeting without presenting. Now we're having that meeting. We're announcing
So it's going to be on Thursday, October 26th.
Thursday, October 26th.
At what time?
Don't know. That's why I need to have concrete time so
Okay.
be able to set. And I want it 2 weeks out. I don't want it less than that. That's 2 days from now.
Is it going to be here?
I believe we're going to have it here. Depends on how much outreach they get. We're doing media outreach, publishing it in the paper and internet, and trying to get as much information out as possible. If the feedback is such, then we may not have it here. They're looking to see a bigger venue. They're hoping to get several hundred people out. It's the goal in the community. So if that happens, I'm letting them drive their
I'm
thing to
just-
get as much feed. They were directed to get as much feedback as possible.
Right, I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to get several hundred people that then know they're going to achieve this.
They're using a professional company to get the information out. I'm hoping they're successful at what they do. If not, we'll know our core group of people who come to our regular meetings will have the information. And I told them it has to be in this effort. I don't want it anywhere else. I don't want it uptown. I don't want it, told them keep it in Lakewood. If they need a big venue, keep it in Lakewood. So they're proposing to have an answer. They'll publish that within 2 days.
And are they the ones suggesting the 26 October date, or is that just a?
They are, yes, they are.
They believe they have sufficient time to do what needs to be done.
Well, they've done work already.
No,
And
no, I
so
mean
we've been
to-
telling them they need to have a meeting before they get too far along. Just remember,
No.
let me, sorry.
I meant the media outreach would be effective in that time.
They believe they can. Remember, folks, this is something that everybody's been asking for, and we promised to have. This is the development. They're not coming with something already done. This is so they can keep working and moving forward and get feedback on developing an RFQ. Not a request for proposals. An RFQ is a request for qualifications. This is where they're trying to come and say, this is what we believe the person who is deemed qualified, the people, the entities, however many, put their ring in the hat, so to speak. This is the qualifications we're looking for. That's what this meeting is about. And to get promise public input in that process so people can come and say, I think the person should be able to do this or this. And so that's what this meeting, this first meeting is about.
And what's I've heard is that they plan to participate virtually.
For this meeting, they'll participate virtually. We'll have our attorneys there, we'll be there, or we'll be there.
Is it possible that they could be persuaded to show up in person so they could receive the fulsome outreach of the human public?
Right now, it calls for them to do this virtually. For this meeting, for developing the qualifications. RFPs, they're told RFP meetings, they will absolutely be in person. They know that. That's when you're starting to talk about what are we asking to be in a proposal versus who's qualified to do it. Put in a card, please.
Could we possibly ask them to show up in person nicely?
I have. The contract calls for them to do this one virtually. We're going to make sure that we have all the
And we're going to have.
video and a screen and everything, and they're going to be able to put out what they talk about for an RFQ.
Got a lot of static here, can't hear a thing. We'll see.
Remember?
I just
Sorry, go ahead.
want to clarify, I'm not opposing the meeting, I'm opposing the short time frame that the public is being given to attend
The
meetings.
city regularly has meetings like this where there's no more than 2 weeks notice. People have been asking for this, asking for this. If it's that big of a deal, I feel like people have 2 weeks to plenty of time to show up.
I just think it doesn't take into account the people who are going to meet their schedules to be here, especially when they're going to be virtual. I understand that that may be what the city does, I get that. But I'm just saying that the people on this project that want to be here are passionate about it, and they might have other plans that require them to be out of town. So maybe the other thing that I should ask is, what will the public's option regarding virtual be? If HRNA can attend virtual, then I would assume the public can also attend virtual and still have as much say.
Yes, and there'll be an opportunity for people to submit questions. Just, in other words, submit not unwritten, but submit written questions that we can then read aloud and have them address.
Sure, people will be able to participate in the meeting virtually, I assume.
Don't think there's that capability.
And that's
For every
what-
person to call in and be virtual.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, like, we're giving the public 2 weeks' notice, but we're the ones who have to show up. HRNA gets to be virtual, so yeah, they can just pick whatever day works for them, because they don't have to show up, they can just hop on a computer. So that's what I'm saying. If I'm the only one that feels this way, then we can let it go. But I'm just saying, I think the public, I think the people that are here every month need to be given a little bit more of a choice than for us to just be informed that, hey, by the way, in 2 weeks, this meeting that we have all been waiting for is happening. People could be out of town in 2 weeks for work. They're not able to change work plans on a dime like that. So that's all I'm saying. If we're not going to give the public the option to be virtual, then HRNA needs to provide flexibility for what the public needs to attend a meeting, since we are saying that they need to be in person. I think that communicates what's in my head. And again, if I'm the only one that feels this way, I'm gonna go home and have a drink anyway. But I just wanna speak up for anybody in the audience who might feel that way.
I think 2 weeks is adequate given the mass communications we have now. And it's not going to be a very informative meeting because we're still in early days. I guess this is more of a trying to scratch an itch to see if HRNA actually exists. They have something to say and it will satisfy that desire. And I'm not troubled by 2 weeks.
You're also retired, Keith.
Well, here I am working for nothing, damn it. So
That was a volunteer option.
I know. Gotcha. Serving my country day after day.
Any other
Thank you for your
comments from
service.
the board member? The only other thing I would add is that we pushed hard to get an RFQ, obviously we drive anything, but to get an RFQ where the argument was nobody does a pre-meeting for an RFQ. People, qualifications for these large projects are qualifications, people who have done these kind of projects. I said, I don't care. I want people to have their input into what an RFQ should say. You do developments like this,
I agree.
I said, we want to have it. So I'm not saying it isn't real important. I'm saying I think 2 weeks is plenty when every single meeting for the past several months we've talked about this. But that's my 2 cents. Public comments.
Charles,
Thank you for what you had to say, because actually I'll have to readjust, because I've been traveling a lot lately. And I'm glad I got the 2 weeks notice to kind of change up what I was going to do.
In the nick of time.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
your travel coming up this week, you can't.
I can't change the travel this week,
Right.
but I did have to add another trip planned that I will, like I missed last meeting, so I will adjust because of that, the heads up. But I do have a question on that, and I'm confused as to where we stand with the housing situation, because the CEA, it's been mum. We haven't heard anything from the city council or Jefferson Parish Council. Jefferson Parish was really thrilled that residents were going to be in the development. Joe has been pushing it, an ordinance that doesn't allow that, but if the agreement that everybody signed called for residents, and the builder, maybe that builds the best residents would be somebody that won in the RFQ. Shouldn't somebody have been talking like Joe or Jennifer Van Franken about how they resolved the situation with the cooperative endeavor agreement that calls for residents? And that's Act 152 of the year 2019 that was passed in the state. So, and it's signed off by Jay Darden that it would be residents. So how has that been resolved?
It's not actually true, what you just said, that nobody has said anything about it. We've said it at several meetings.
Okay, not enough, excuse me, I take that back.
We've certainly said it a lot. The CEA is not in existence. It's not in existence. It expired, and the only entity that I'm aware of that approved it was the city council. The state hadn't signed it, and Jefferson Parish hasn't done anything with it. So that means it's expired. If somebody wants to resurrect it, that's fine. It's not to say, clearly, it's not to say that those partners, those government entities who are absolutely succinctly partners in this development don't have a say-so. They absolutely will. And so as we go through this process and get it developed, they'll be given the thing. They have comments, and the final RFP will absolutely have to be signed off by everybody. But getting off of zero, as we've talked about, having nothing for 18 years now, although that's probably not fair because the pumping station took 6 years. But still, we're talking 12 years with nothing. Getting off of zero is to get a draft of an RFP that we can then send to the city council, and send to the state, and send to Jefferson Parish, and have them get their feedback and come up with a final RFP. I apologize, the other comment was on the housing. Councilman Girusso, that's a question for him. He talked about it here in the meeting that he had. He proposed it. It hasn't moved forward. And I would ask you to direct that to him. But I think by the time we get to our RFP, we'll have guidance on that as to whether we say there's no housing there or not. I don't think anybody here has been in favor, particularly of the housing. I haven't heard anybody saying that that's what they want. Yes, you're right, it was in the study done by the Regional Planning Commission. but this board isn't dictated by that.
No, on my website, I've got the signed contract, Tim, so, you guys can look this up, but it's signed by Mayor Cantrell, Jay Dardine, Scott Walker, and a couple other people, all signed that. And Joe Geruso went to Jefferson Parish and had a big deal about how thrilled he was about the CA.
Well, I'm sorry, you said contract, what contract is
You
it?
just said that the CA was not signed by the state of Jefferson Parish, but on my website, I got their signatures on the CA.
And what date is that on the expiration? That's not the one that expired?
That's on the original.
Right,
So the one I said was expired, right? Is that, am I
This is the one
correct?
you said expired,
Yeah, okay.
but it did have penalty clauses in it if you don't renew it. So I guess that's why I was wondering, I haven't seen Joe Geruso or Jefferson Parish say, hey, this expired. They made such
Can you-
great ribbon cuttings when they did it, but they haven't talked about, now that it's expired, what their game plan is. That's what I'm saying, that's my point, is that shouldn't they have said something to the public, that their game plan, that they let it expire for this reason, and that's, they're not gonna move forward?
I don't want to sit here, I mean, it's a leading question, like all of your questions on your surveys and your emails have a leading thing. Shouldn't they have done this? I think those questions, as I said, are best directed at the government official you're talking about.
Well, I guess my point though is back to HRNA, if we're looking for who's the most qualified, and you still might have housing as a requirement, that would be something you'd look for in RFQ. Because I'm saying that I don't see that that's been resolved publicly, that's my point, Tim.
I understand.
Okay. I'm good.
So perhaps something that would bridge the gap here is, who advised you that it was expired? Like, was it Joe Russo, or was it the city, or?
The date on it and the fact that nobody's,
It's
Renewed.
expired. Jeff Schwartz has stated that they were working to finalize terms, but it's not on the forefront of anyone's agendas. You got
No problem, I'm just trying to bridge.
last time I ran into Jeff and asked him about it, they were having conversations, but nothing was close to being finalized, because they're still, that is done, and so now they're all jockeying to retake their positions.
Sure.
And the city's understaffed, especially in that department, and has 10 other things that they're working on at the same time.
Sure. So I'm just communicating, that's the person that we received the information from. So if you think that it's not expired, you can reach out to Jeff Schwartz.
Well, I agree to the point, because it was a 1 year to be renewed, and it was on the agenda to be renewed, and then it just disappeared. Somebody's saying that there's a lack of information to the public as to what happened. Thank you for informing us.
and I'll say this, I'm not an attorney, I've read the CA, I don't see the penalties in there. But I guess the good news is the city complied with, had done what they had to do, and I guess the penalties will be inflicted against the state and Jefferson Parish if they're in there. And like I said, I'm no attorney, but I read it a couple of times, looking for the penalties. All right, next one.
Is it Mike?
Yeah.
What's your last name?
Gertler.
Gertler? Okay.
You were talking about the qualifications at the upcoming meeting, but not to be totally ignorant about it, but what specific qualifications with reference to what specific aspect of the development? Can you be more specific about the inquiry about qualifications?
I think that's a question best directed to the HRNA, our consultant, and the attorneys when we have the meeting. That's probably the kind of question to bring up.
Yeah. I think HRNA needs to outline how they're gonna request qualifications. It's up to the entity asking. Typically, it's a pretty general subject where you are asked to provide relevant experience. So in this, probably waterfront-based development, something along those lines, and show the strength of what developments you've done in the past. And that's, it's typically background, resumes, relevant experience, and then again, the next part of the process would be proposals where input from the community would come in, and the selected qualified entities would then build a proposal based around that feedback. But it'd be a selected group based on the qualifications, so you don't just have a random person who's never done it before.
Right, thank you.
That's it.
No other comments? All right, so look for that to come out. It'll be on our front and center on our website. You open the page. And there should be a huge meeting. stations, the news stations to cover, okay, so people know what's going on. All right, quality of life, sorry.
So when you were asking about like what calls they might have, so the meeting on the 26th is going to be for community input for HRNA to put together their RFQ,
Yes.
which is a request for calls.
Yes.
So typically, like Mark said, those are going to be a technical basis, but if there's something that you want to say, like if you want your developer to specifically have urban on the water experience, or if you want your developer to specifically have experience with XYZ, you can kind of be thinking along those lines. That was one of the reasons that we pushed so hard for the community to be able to put their input here, so that this is the first step in HRNA seeing who on the playing field wants to play. So we felt like it was the most transparent to give you the option to shape that, as opposed to them putting out the plate, people coming in and then saying, okay, what do you want to see? We're taking it a step back. The people that come to play, what do you want to make sure they have experience in? And so those are the types of things that would be helpful at this meeting. If you want to take a look at that, think it through, that type of stuff. I hope that kind of like clarifies. Because once we get to the RFP, like Mark said, that's when the very specific thing is, this is what you want to see here, and this is what you want built, this is what you want to happen. Those are all going to go into the RFP. But for right now, it's who's coming to play, and what do you all need to have expertise in. I hope that makes sense and doesn't like muddy the waters a little bit. Thanks.
All right, the Quality of Life Committee, Dr. Criddle is not here. Does anybody have aware of anything that you have not reported? She did also contact me while we were in the Finance Committee meeting and said she had something come up last second. She couldn't make it affirm for coming to the meeting, but can't make it. All right, Security and Safety Committee, Ham.
Yeah, we're gonna schedule the next meeting for December, so we'll put that information out on that. We just had a meeting last month, and it was addressed last month, but I guess we're getting December.
That is the last thing on our agenda. Brian, do you have anything else? All right. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Addison.
Second.
All those in favor?
Shoot, we should have talked about the next meeting.
Oh, I am sorry. Announcement for the next meeting. The next meeting will be
Put the wrong dates on there.
Tuesday, November 14th.
Tuesday.
I think it's Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday, November 14th, is that correct? Okay, Tuesday, November 14th, folks, for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Addison.